When you grow your cauliflowers, you need to make sure that the heads are covered up once they've started to form. Once they get to about the size of a ping pong ball, you need to cover that white cauliflower head up, and that's called blanching. You can get self-blanching varieties, and they will just naturally curl over that cauliflower head to protect it, but some don't do that. The leaves will just spread out, exposing that white cauliflower head, and the problem with that is that if the sun is on that for any amount of time, it's going to start to discolour. It'll start to go a little bit green, sometimes they go grey, but apart from that, it's going to cause that cauliflower to taste bitter as well as look a little bit unsightly. So if you are growing cauliflowers, keep your eye on them. As soon as you see that little white cauliflower head forming, make sure those heads are covered, and you just cover them up with its own leaves. Sometimes the leaves splay outwards, but you can easily sort that out. I'll show you exactly what I mean. I've got 2 cauliflowers in 10-litre containers, and one is exposed to the sun, but the other's not. So we'll just take a quick look at the difference in those two, and then a simple way to sort that problem out. If you look at this one, it's a really nice healthy looking plant, and in the centre you can't really see much of anything, but if I separate those leaves very carefully, hopefully you can now see there's a little cauliflower head in there, but these leaves are naturally folding around that head, which is going to protect it or blanch it. Next to it I've got another one, and although they're the exact same variety, this one is completely exposed, and it's a good size as well. So this is going to start and turn grey. These leaves are showing no signs of covering that head up, so we're going to have to do it ourselves. And the easiest way to do that is to take these leaves, pin them together, and then just pop a peg over the top, covering that cauliflower head, and then go the same in the other direction. Like that. Now there's no sun getting to that cauliflower head at all. And on the other one that you can hardly see, if you take a really close look, you can see a little bit of white. So we'll do exactly the same to that one. Before it gets any bigger, just pop that peg on, and that's that sorted. So there you go, very simple fix to that problem. You don't want to spend all that time growing your cauliflowers to have them ruined just as they're starting to grow. Because, as I said previously, if you expose them continuously to sunlight, they're going to turn grey, but they're also going to be bitter to taste, so no good to anybody. So that's just a quick fix in case you're growing cauliflowers. So if you've not done it already, pop out and have a look, and any that you see that's showing that cauliflower head, just use a couple of pegs and sort that problem out before it gets any worse. This is another plant that we've been growing for quite a while. That's an hot chilli, and it's called Basket of Fire, and look how that's come on. It looks amazing. There's loads and loads of flowers, and we're now starting to see little chilies starting to form. This one is going to be overwintered as well because it doesn't grow huge, so we can take it indoors once it gets to autumn and just leave it in this pot. Then next year we can pot it on into a bigger container, and we'll get a jump on season and a bigger plant with more fruit. So something like this that's nice and compact, it's well worth thinking about overwintering. Not that I'm a fan of hot peppers, but I do like to have a couple that I can grind up and add to curries. So I'm going to do that with that chilli, and then I'm going to select one of his bell peppers that's in pots and probably do the same. It's a bit early for that at the moment, we're just desperately waiting to get some fruit. It's been a very slow year for tomatoes and peppers. This is one of his long sweet bell peppers. It's only in a 2-litre pot, but it is trying to grow. But more importantly, it is growing fruit. We've got 3 good sized peppers on there already. We're just waiting for those to ripen, and this is an ideal size to select for overwintering. It it definitely needs watering. Don't overwater your peppers though, they don't mind drying out to some extent. And if you just give them too much water too often, the leaves are all going to start and turn yellow. So this is quite light, so just a bit of water to keep it going through this sun. And as always, pinching off bottom leaves that we know aren't going to do anything. Old leaves like this one, they look very tired. Take those off. Clear that base. There's another one right there, looks very unhealthy. But in between, if you can see, we've got fresh growth. Might be hard to see that, but there's another stem coming up in between. So we can take those away. Keep this plant nice and clean, but it's now going to put more energy into trying to ripen the fruits that we've already got. And this one's a dwarf tomato plant. That's as big as this plant grows. It's called Sweet and Neat. So you get lots of little red cherry tomatoes. And what I did with this one is, and I admit it was a mistake, I put 2 in this little container. And they're growing quite happily together. If I move it in closer, look how many tomatoes is on this plant. Loads. And they're not a bad size. Obviously they are cherry tomatoes. But as this grows, it's growing outwards. So I want to just tie them up a little bit. Because when we get these winds round here, they could snap that stem, and we don't want that, especially at this stage. We've struggled enough with tomatoes this year as it is. So just for the sake of a bit of string, we can tie them together, give them that extra support that they need, while at the same time we're looking around the bottom of this plant and we can see that there's yellow in leaves. So if we can trace that back, they are quite dense plants, but if you can trace it back, you can just break that away. That leaf is no good for nothing except attracting slugs, as always. But apart from that, it looks like most of the leaves on this plant are perfectly fine. So that's really good news. Very small container, less than 10 litres, yet it's full of cherry tomatoes. And that's why I'm feeding them once a week now. Keep piling up those nutrients, but don't overfeed them by double dosing them. That'll do more harm than good. Just stick to the required measurement and then feed them. And feed them once every week rather than once every 14 days. Because most of these nutrients are going to leach through the bottom when you water it. And that's how we keep on top of containers. The more nutrients they've got, the quicker these tomatoes are going to ripen. I think for a minute I'm going to put it out at wind. It keeps gusting, but I'm definitely looking forward to harvesting some cherry tomatoes off this. The same thing goes for your onions. They're very heavy feeders, especially when they're in little caravan wash bowls and they're multi-sown. These onions are coming on really well. There's 10 little onions all growing together, just happily pushing each other apart as they grow. And we're only going to get small onions from this, but for the amount of compost we've used and the space that it's took, it's still well worth doing. Anyway, it's very hot, it's very sunny, it's getting a bit blustery, and I think we've got a bit of rain coming later, but all next week it's going to be very sunny and very warm. So make sure you keep your eyes on all your plants, especially those cauliflowers. Don't leave them uncovered with this sun all day long. Anyway, thank you so much once again for being part of the channel, and thank you so much to Kevin Jarman for your donation as well. Always appreciated, Kevin. Thank you very much for that. If you're interested in seeing what else we're going to be doing over the next few days, please hit that subscribe button, press that notifications bell, and I'll see you next time. Take care.